That's not for sale.
I'm sorry. I didn't know. It was out here on the table. What is that thing?
What does it look like? It's a gnome. And don't worry about it, it's not for sale.
How did you get out here? I told you to stay inside. How many times are we going to have to do this? I told you that you need to be in the house. You're not even supposed to be, let alone with all these people around. What if something happened? We're not going through this again. You need to get back inside where you belong. You can't be out here. There's people around. There's too much for you. You need to stay in the house.
Karen, oh Karen. I picked up those groceries you wanted. What? Who's there? Who's there? Listen, I don't know what you want, but come out here. I'm gonna call the police. It's over. Whatever you're trying to do, it's done. Jesus.
There.
You can't keep doing this, you know. Same as the last time it's... See, this is why I can't let you out of the house. You think I don't know that? Let's get you home.
Hey everybody, welcome to Film Juice. I'm your host, Joe Dorado.
And I'm Andrew Canada. Thanks for joining us tonight. Very excited about this show.
First, really quick, that short was filmed
Over the summer. Yeah. That was over the summer with Sam Phillips, and we just want to use it for the opening tonight.
Yeah.
So what movies do we have on the block today?
We got some good movies. We have Blockers.
Yep.
Interesting movie.
Yeah.
Quiet Place.
Yep.
And then Raiders of the Lost Ark.
All right. Let's talk about Blockers first. This movie was Kay Cannon who directed the film. It was her directorial debut. She never directed anything before. She's written and produced tons of shows and movies, including 30 Rock, as well as the Pitch Perfect franchise. The biggest problem that I had with the movie was the script, but I think that the directing was pretty good. Like, you could tell by watching it, there's a lot of things in the background that she puts in there, like, you know, Kay Cannon took the time with this movie, and it was well thought out.
The thing that
to an extent.
Yeah, the thing about this movie that the thing about this movie is it is like probably the most average movie I've ever seen.
It's pretty average. I wouldn't say it's the most average.
Yeah, it's not the most, because there are funny moments. And like that doesn't mean it's not average either. And when I say average, it doesn't mean it's bad, but it doesn't mean it's good.
Exactly.
It's just okay.
It's kind of weird.
It's passable. Because the cinematography, the directing, the writing, it's all very safe. It's all normal. Like, not the writing maybe, but the directing and the cinematography, it's nothing you haven't seen before.
The cinematography in particular, I would say the directing, because like I said, when you watch the background of this movie, she adds because
it's okay.
Okay, but that putting the extra things in the background that not everyone is going to notice, like, that's what sets it apart. Like, that's what tells me that she read this script and obsessed over and, like, how can I use every inch of frame? And there were some parts where she couldn't do that. But just the fact that she, had it in her mind to put those little things in there, like that, like, solid directing. Not great, obviously, because it was only a small amount, but, like better than some people would do their first time around.
Yes, I'll admit that is... This movie was, like, for a first movie and everything, like, this is a pretty good movie for like
yeah,
our first movie.
Really
I'd
good
say.
job, I would say.
Yeah. We the movie basically though is about 3 parents
Sure.
who are reading their end up reading one of the girls' group text messages on her laptop, and they end up finding out that they're planning on having sex. They're planning on having sex on prom night, and they want to stop it. And that's the premise of the whole movie.
Blockers.
Yeah, and
They're blocking it.
yeah, they actually only made the joke once in the entire movie. I was very surprised about that.
Yeah, you thought that was going to happen a lot because the
Yeah.
poster, if you haven't seen it, is a silhouette of a rooster over the word blockers.
Cause you get it.
Yeah, because you get it.
No,
you
but
did
they only
what-
made that
yeah.
joke once, so I was
That's all,
that
that's
was
all
fine.
that needed to be made.
I know. I thought it was gonna be made like 10 times.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
No,
like
it was made once.
Because we were talking about the
No, it
writing,
was
but
made
like,
once.
yeah. So like we were talking about this earlier. Most the funny lines in this movie
Are pretty good.
are the lines. They are the funny lines in this movie are really funny, pretty funny, but there aren't that many. And
Yeah.
the lines that are good are the throwaway lines, right? They're the quick lines that feel like they could have been improvised, and I don't know if they are,
Yeah.
but just about every character
Yeah.
has one.
Yeah, and
And so the thing about it is like, for a lot of the movie, I had trouble paying attention because it's like quick, witty joke that a character will have,
Yeah, and
like
then
just
chuckle,
real,
haha.
yeah, and then like,
Yeah.
oh, that's like a funny thing that
Yeah.
that guy said, and then it'll just go back to like these chunks of dialogue
yeah, they
that
just
are
don't
just
care
like
about.
not funny and like some
And
of
it's
the,
not boring. It's just like you don't.
no, it's not boring. It's just
Yeah.
that you feel like you don't need to pay
Yeah.
attention
Yes.
because you feel like what the characters are saying isn't important.
Yes, and I will say the acting is good. I think the acting's pretty good. I think John Cena does a great job.
I love John Cena.
I also
in
think,
movies.
yeah, I think I was surprised by his role in this movie. I thought he did pretty good, like for what he was given.
He was funny in
Yeah.
Trainwreck.
I didn't
like-
see that movie,
Wow,
so
Jesus Christ. That was a good movie. I saw it 3 times in theaters.
wow, really?
Yeah, that was funny. And he was good in that movie. He was really good in that movie, which is why I was excited to see him in this. And he was okay.
He was pretty good.
Obviously he's a big guy, and we talked about this
Yeah.
as well. He's a big guy, very masculine fella. His character was pretty sensitive. I thought that they were
Yeah.
going to sort of beat that joke into the
They
ground.
didn't, though.
But they were close. They were really close.
They did it a few times.
Because like the first time you see, it's like, oh, John Cena is crying. Like
Yeah.
obviously there's the juxtaposition there. Like, oh, that's kind
Yeah.
of funny. But then it's like, there's a limit. They don't cross the line.
Yeah.
But they come really close.
One issue I have with this movie is, like, it does have good parts, and the good parts. But the thing about the good parts is the good parts aren't amazing. They're good.
Yeah.
They're good parts. That's it, though.
And they're short. All
yeah,
of them are short.
They're very short. They're not, and they're kind of far in between. And the rest. Then there's these sequences that some of them are just they're not good and they're not funny. They just don't land. I think some of these sequences and. That's like an issue I have with this movie is some sequences work and they're like funny and they're like, oh, that was good. But then there's just a lot of filler. I call it filler. It's not boring, it's just there. It just happens. These things happen.
Coining the phrase right here, filler.
Yeah.
I call it filler. That's just what I call it. I call it filler.
But yeah, like it's just a lot of filler in this movie.
And I feel like some of those filler moments are not even dialogue based. There are some elements in this movie, some sequences rather,
Yeah.
of physical comedy. Obviously, physical comedy is hard to do, but there are some in this where the parents are sort of wrestling with each other or whatever, and it just goes on for too long.
Yeah.
And
They
like I
didn't-
said, it's
they weren't good
physical
with
comedy. It's
timing.
hard to do.
Timing is so important. with
Timing
it.
was off for, again, aside from those quick, like, witty one-liners, the
Yeah.
blocks of dialogue that you can tell for sure are pre-written are not well-timed, and
No.
they're not that funny.
And
That's
the
too-
people who played the high school kids, they weren't bad. They were
Yeah.
pretty good.
all the
I didn't
kids
really.
did pretty good acting.
Yeah, they were pretty good. I was like they were pretty good. Some supporting characters were good. They weren't in the movie very much, but they usually were like the funny ones. Like Limo Driver was funny. Hannibal Buress was funny.
That
I
always-
wish Hannibal Buress was in the movie more. He was so
Yeah,
funny.
I wish he was only in
He
like
was
a couple
good.
scenes. I
And
wish he had
whenever he
been
was
in more.
on screen, I just like was smiling. 'Cause
He's just a
his
funny
character
dude,
was
though,
just
right?
funny,
Like-
and the way like the other the dad interacted with him,
Yeah.
Like
Ike Barinholtz, who I was also very excited to see in this movie, did a pretty good job. And you know what? I like, because obviously this movie, and you can tell, I'm sure, because there's parents and kids, like, it has to have an emotional center.
Yeah, and there was.
And you know what? The way they wrapped it up, I liked that, which is what set this movie from being like pretty good to like not being not good for me. Was that I thought they did the ending well.
Yeah.
The wrap up was good.
Yeah, I think there's a specific moment that I really like where they actually like have. There's a moment in this movie where you actually realize, oh, they're acting. That there's like a big moment in this movie where like, oh, this is like they're actually acting in this movie, and it's like good. Like they know what they're doing, and they're actually trying.
Which is the moment for Ike Barinholtz.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
It was really good. I was like, that was a good part in that movie. But what would you rate this movie?
It's got, it's right down the middle for me, so it's a 5.
Yeah.
Could have been a 5.5, could have been a 4.5, but like I said, I liked the ending and some of those witty one-liners. I enjoyed those.
This movie, that's exactly how I felt about this movie. This movie is a movie I would watch in the background if it was on television.
We were saying earlier how this movie is going to be a movie that's on FX in the afternoon when you're like homesick.
Yes. And you're just like, oh, it's on.
Yeah, you're tired
like
of
Ice Age 4,
you're tired of watching
Ice Age
Maury.
4 is on like FX. But like, so it was just it was basically as average as a movie gets. I'd give it a 5 out of 10. So yeah, I think it's fair. It's good. I would say, if you like, I wouldn't say don't go see it. But I wouldn't see it in the theater.
I would not see it in the theater. I wouldn't see it in the theater either.
I'd say rent it.
But if you have time to kill and you want to go see a movie, then go ahead and see it. But this one, wait for until it comes on demand.
Yeah. One last thing I want to say. When I went into this movie, I was hoping it was going to be like game night, where I like really enjoyed it, and it was like different.
Could have been game night.
Yeah,
sorry, blockers, you weren't game night.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll see you after this commercial break for A Quiet Place.
Be right back.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving, the ultimate party foul.
You've messed up your son's haircut. Do you try to fix it? Work with what you've got? Or show solidarity?
Thank you, babe. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans. Because love has no labels.
Había un niño que era muy sensible a luces y sonidos. Construía escondites donde no podían entrar. No le gustaba mirar a la gente a los ojos. Lo hacía sentir incómodo. Un día se descubrió que tenía autismo. Con ayuda, poco a poco, aprendió a vivir mejor con ello.
Mientras más pronto se diagnostique, mejor. Conoce las señales en autismspeaks.org.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals 25. Good job!
or C, find a loophole? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
We can warn someone when their drink isn't safe.
And disrupt the situation.
We can.
Get someone the cab.
Or walk them home safely.
We can make campuses safer for our friends.
our roommates,
our classmates, our fellow human beings.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can.
Intervene.
It's on us.
All of us.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Film Juice.
Yes.
Joe Dorado here, and I'm Andrew Canada. The next movie we're going to be talking about is a movie that I know we were both very excited to see, directed by John Krasinski.
So good.
A Quiet Place.
Yeah.
Also co-starring his wife,
Yeah,
Emily Blunt, who's an excellent.
Krasinski.
Yeah, well, she's famous.
She's an actor, so she can't.
Well, anybody can do it.
Just wanted to make that point.
No, I'm glad. You know what? I think that they appreciate it. Is the thing is I think that the people, Sam and Jack, will appreciate that.
Okay. Anyway.
So let's talk about it. So the movie, for those of you who haven't seen any of the trailers, is about a family who lives in a world where after an alien invasion, you can't make a sound because any sound will draw these crazy aliens towards you, and they've been, killing off the human race like nobody's business. So it's sort of a family's way and how to survive in that situation. And what I love about it is that this movie is so well thought out in the way that they think of everything as to like what you would actually have to do to survive.
Yes.
Like what the characters would actually have to do. Like it's crazy. Just the intricacy of the thought that went into that deal.
It's insane. It is insane.
Yeah, and there other stuff. You know what else I like? There's an element of religious symbolism in this movie. I don't know if you noticed that, but there are a few moments that are just sort of in the background, like various things, crosses in the background, halos. Emily Blunt's character is pretty much like the Virgin Mary, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's it's a good movie. However, the one thing with this movie that it's obviously a great story, but I don't think that this movie had a plot. Do you know what I mean?
You don't think this movie had a plot?
Yeah, there was no plot. It was just about watching them try to survive, but there wasn't a plot in the sense that the characters didn't have a goal as opposed to that survival thing. That's where all the action stemmed from, was just their thing to survive. But there was no plot.
I think the goal, I think the goal is, well, I'm not going to spoil it, but I think the goal is
to make it more about the family.
That and also,
which it does well.
That, but also I think the plot is the fact that the thing. Is it a spoiler to talk about Emily Blunt's her predicament or no?
No. They've said that her character in the film is pregnant.
Yeah, her character's pregnant. I think that's the plot is that to make it a sustainable living, and I think
which is just survival.
No, but I think that's still a plot because I think the whole thing with the baby is their goal is to make sure that baby can survive. They have a whole plan for it and everything. And I think
I feel like that's more of a subplot. The pregnancy is more of a subplot as opposed to like a full-fledged plot. You know what I mean? I think the reason that I thoroughly enjoyed this movie and was so excited to see it is because the idea behind the story is so original, right? I mean, we're not getting this anywhere else. It's an incredible story written by Brian Woods and Scott Beck, and also co-written by John Krasinski.
Yeah.
And
I think he wrote more. It says co-written, but I think he came up with the idea and everything.
Well, okay. Well, I think that he came up with a lot of the stuff that was added, like what we just talked about, like the intricacies that what people would actually have to do for the survival. But the story is credited to Brian Woods and Scott Beck.
Okay.
Yeah.
But no, I just loved I loved the beginning of this movie. I think this is one of the best horror movies recently that I've seen, and I
Because it's not-
wouldn't say horror
yeah.
either. I say it walks
like a suspense film.
It walks the fine line of thriller and horror.
Very true.
And I think that's perfect. Like it's like a tightrope, and it walks it so well.
Yeah.
And I think the best part of this movie, other than I think the concept is really, really innovative.
Me too.
And really it's awesome. It is so cool, and it makes me excited to see what John Krasinski is going to do in the future. But I think the best part about this movie and why it might even win awards when it comes out to award season is because of the sound design. I think this is some of the best sound design I have seen in a movie. It is so well done. It is so...
It serves the story exactly how it should.
And it's very intricate, and it's very specific, and I love that. I love how much detail and thought they put into the sound design, and I think I just thought it was masterfully done. I didn't find one issue with the sound, and I just loved that. And the way they use it to tell the story, that's where it
Right. I mean, it's a
amazing.
Story, it's entirely based on the introduction and absence of sound, which is one of the things that they do really well as far as the more horrific moments, the scary moments, because not only do they scare you by introducing sound in like a traditional jump scare way where, everything's tense and it's quiet.
And there's
it's like this,
there's only a couple of those.
That's okay, but there's also parts where it uses the absence of sound to scare you, which I like even better.
I love that.
And I just love that they just added both of those in.
No, yeah. And I don't think, and this is also a point I'd like to bring up, I think jump scares I don't think jump scares are bad in nature, because, I don't think they're inherently bad. I think they have a bad name and a bad rep because of how they're used in many cheap horror films and stuff. But I think you can still have a good and useful, and you can have a good jump scare, and it could be good to the story and not cheap. And I think this movie had a couple of good jump scares. There was one cheap jump scare. I will say that I think you know what I'm talking about. There was one cheap jump scare. I was like, okay, it got you, but it was it was cheap.
But for the
it was
most
still
part,
good.
because I know when you and I go see horror movies, that's like while we're watching it and right after we leave the theater, one of the first things we talk about is jump scares.
Yeah.
And this movie used them so well.
Yeah, it was really good. And I think this movie makes you feel a particular way because of how of what the subject is. It's all about sound, and you realize while watching this movie, you get self-conscious of how much noise you make, and that is something that if a movie can do that, that's like a feat.
It's perfect for this. It's incredibly immersive. Because again,
it's insane.
Bringing in sound, absence of sound, just makes you focus.
You hold your breath at points. You really do.
And there's another good use. I know that you talked about this yesterday, so you probably want to bring it up. Is they use this really well because horror movies do use this sometimes, but I feel like this time they used this device particularly well, telling the audience things that the characters don't know.
Yeah.
Withholding information from the characters.
They did this perfect.
But letting the audience know, because that stresses us out, and it stressed me out so much in this movie.
Yes.
You know, because you were there, and I stood up and ran away.
That was one of the best. That's probably the best part of the movie, and it's probably the best. That's the best sequence. That whole sequence is amazing.
Just the tension in this movie that this movie creates, because you know
what's going to happen, and they don't know.
Make a sound.
Yeah. And I think they utilized Hitchcock, what Hitchcock's rule very well, where don't. I'm going to butcher it.
Just torture the audience as long as possible.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. And I thought that they did it so well, especially in that sequence. Really quick, the acting, amazing.
Obviously.
The acting was so good, and that's what made this movie. Child actors were great. That one actress, this is not a spoiler because they talk about this. The one character, the one child, is deaf in the movie, and they actually show that the way they show that is really cool because whenever they show a shot on her, there's no sound. I thought that was really cool, but she's actually a deaf actress, and I didn't know that until I saw something about it after. That is really cool, and I actually love that they did that. I think that's awesome.
It was the right choice.
Yeah,
obviously.
and they're really good. They were both really good actors. There's not many actors in this movie. There's only 6 characters in the movie.
Yeah.
7 if you include the monster.
You want to talk about the monster? For a minute?
The monster was awesome.
The design of them is incredible because obviously it's a predatory creature that depends entirely on its hearing and just the way that it's designed.
The CG was really good.
Is exceptional.
And I'm glad that they showed the monster, but I'm also glad they didn't show you right away. Like, you waited to see. Yeah. And when you see the monster, it's like chills.
But I'm glad that they did show it because I was worried that because obviously, like, I think it's good to tease the audience and then eventually show it. But I was worried that they would just tease the whole time and we'd never get a clear glimpse.
I'm glad they didn't tease for too long. I also really liked how they structured the movie with days. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Like, how they did that. That was pretty cool.
Yep.
And, yeah, just the storytelling. Anyways.
Ratings. Joe.
It's so good. I could talk about this movie forever. It's one of, I
has.
love good horror movies and thriller movies. One of the best movies that has ever done that I've ever seen. It's probably going to become one of my favorite movies after I watch it a few more times. I'm going to see it a few more times. Anyways, this movie, have to say 9.5 out of 10. And the only reason why it's not a 10 out of 10, because I almost gave it a 10 out of 10 juice boxes, is because the only reason why is because the end was good. It was a good ending, but it wasn't a perfect ending. And it just brought it down just a little bit for me. It just made it not perfect, and that's the thing. It was so close to
probably
perfect.
our biggest disagreement on this movie is the ending because I loved the ending.
And we can't.
I thought that they nailed it.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this movie a 9 because it was incredible. I obviously did not enjoy it as much as you did.
Yeah.
But it was a great movie, and definitely recommend everyone go see it.
Everyone see this movie. It's amazing.
We're going to be right back with our throwback Raiders of the Lost Ark. You don't want to miss it.
Classic.
We'll see you in a few minutes.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving, the ultimate party foul.
You've messed up your son's haircut. Do you try to fix it? Work with what you've got? Or show solidarity?
Thank you, babe. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Remember that to love America is to love all Americans. Because love has no labels.
Había un niño que era muy sensible a luces y sonidos. Construía escondites donde no podían entrar. No le gustaba mirar a la gente a los ojos. Lo hacía sentir incómodo. Un día se descubrió que tenía autismo. Con ayuda, poco a poco, aprendió a vivir mejor con ello.
Mientras más pronto se diagnostique, mejor. Conoce las señales en autismspeaks.org.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals 25.
Good job!
or C, find a loophole? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
We can warn someone when their drink isn't safe.
And disrupt the situation. We can.
Get someone the cab.
Or walk them home safely.
We can make campuses safer for our friends.
Our roommates.
Our classmates, our fellow human beings.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can.
Intervene.
It's on us. All of us.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Welcome back.
Wow.
It's Film Juice.
Film Juice.
Hashtag Juice is loose. It's trending. It's trending overseas.
Yeah.
It's trending in Israel right now.
Wow. 50,000.
Yeah, it's really big. Our show's really big over there.
Yeah, we're pretty big, if you didn't know. Not to toot our own horn.
Yeah. Way to make us sound modest, buddy. Throwback. We're both very excited about this throwback.
Oh, so good.
It's both of our favorite movies, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, it's
directed by Steven Spielberg.
Oh,
produced and co-written by George Lucas. You can't beat that.
It was
That's
so
a
good.
winning
The
combination.
power duo.
Oh yeah.
When George Lucas was still like really good. This is like still when he had his time. That's what I'm saying.
Well, he just doesn't do anything anymore.
Yeah.
We can talk about the Star Wars prequels, but this isn't that kind of show.
No, it's not.
Sorry to whoever's doing audio for screaming.
But yeah, I don't know where to start with this movie. I love this movie. This is like one of my first. I would like to credit this movie with being one of the movies that wanted to get me into filmmaking. I would, because I think this is one of the first movies I remember seeing as a kid. It's also one of the first movies that I really enjoyed as a kid, and I love this series. This series is one of my favorite series just in general, and I really enjoyed this movie.
I'll never forget the first time watching this movie because it was Christmas, and my brother and I, we went downstairs and we were opening gifts, and one of the presents from my parents was a box set of the trilogy. Did you have the other? With the special edition bonus features?
Yes, it had like the package, and you could see Steven Spielberg on the back. And yes, I had that. I still have it.
Me too. That's the box set that changed America.
Yes. Oh my God.
Just phenomenal. And we talked about this kind of when we talked about Ready Player One. Is that this movie is it's got that Spielberg feeling of fun, right?
Yeah.
Just fun. And you know what's interesting to me about this?
Is that one of his first movies? Just curious.
Oh, no.
No, because he made a lot before this. Okay.
But it's because he was going to do the new James Bond movie.
And he did this?
Yeah, and then George Lucas was like, no, don't do that. Do this movie.
Okay.
And he was like, yeah, I'll do that. So he was still like big here. But what I find interesting is that Indiana Jones, the character, is sort of based on these adventurers from B pictures of the 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just to
even the poster style.
Exactly, and just to take that concept and make it into like a huge blockbuster.
Yeah,
that's just cool to see.
Yeah,
it is ambitious.
It's really cool.
Because I was like those B movies are most of them are like an hour long tops. Mm-hmm. This movie is like full length, just like a blockbuster feature.
Yeah, and I think this movie I don't know, it just has everything. And it is very much a Spielberg film in the fact that I don't know. A lot of his movies have similar elements in it, which isn't a bad thing. It's good. It's a good formula. But it has the love romance, and it's like an adventure movie, so there's all those cool action sequences, and it also has like the bad guys. I don't know how to explain it. It's so hard to explain, I think, because it's just with his visual style and also how he tells the story. I think that's what it is.
You know what I think he doesn't do as much in this movie as movies that we've talked about recently on the show, and of course many of his other ones, is go handheld for actor movement. I don't think he does that as much, which it does. No. I mean, it's not like an issue for this story, but there's a lot more cuts in this than long takes.
Yeah,
which is just interesting.
I think in the beginning there's a lot of quick takes.
Because
the beginning's very fast-paced. I also think this movie has some I think the beginning of this movie is so well done, and I think I love how they set up.
I agree.
With visual storytelling,
and they
with
really
the darts and stuff. I love that.
They introduce you. They tell you everything you need to know about his character in a great way. Because obviously there's a duality to him.
Yeah.
And you just get it immediately.
Yeah, and Harrison Ford,
without the use of dialogue, of course. Which
Harrison Ford is such a good actor. I really think he is so good. And
when he wants
to be.
Yeah.
I think this is when he was in his prime. Because did he shoot? This was after Blade Runner. Yes. Yes.
No, this was before Blade Runner.
This was before
I believe,
Blade.
because this was 81, and Blade Runner was a few years after that.
I didn't know that. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought I was always under the impression that he did Blade Runner first, but either way,
This came out in 80, but
this was like his prime, like when he was like insane, like good, and he brings it to this role, and he embodies this character. And it's just like, it makes you smile. It really does. It just brings a smile to your face, this movie. And like, just how he plays the character, and like, I wonder how much was even in like the script that like
You
he
should.
did.
The script is actually really well written.
Yeah?
I've read a couple drafts of it.
That's
You should.
awesome.
It's like it's really good actually.
And it has so many iconic scenes, this movie.
Yeah.
Like the boulder scene, one of the
Obviously.
best openings to a movie.
The scene that changed my young life. Obviously, the guy with the sword.
Yeah,
And
that
then,
scene is so. They just knew.
I don't think that gave anything away in case you haven't seen it.
No.
Which, if you haven't, then
We're allowed to talk about spoilers. On
yeah,
this
something's
movie.
wrong with you. But
but I really liked it. I think the way the tomb thing happens at the end where the characters die, that
very
scared
ambitious.
Me. Yeah, and
won
that
an Oscar
scared
for
me as a
special
kid.
effects.
Practical effects were great. I love that scene.
Yep.
Where like, oh, that scene.
And like
is so
he's
cool. And
fighting
it's iconic.
Nazis in the movie,
Yes.
right? Like there's no better
Yeah,
villain than the
it's
Nazis.
Awesome. And it's just like I said,
Nazis
the
suck.
airplane scene is awesome.
Yep.
Like this movie just has so many good things. I can't think of anything really bad about the movie other than like, I don't know, like it doesn't. I don't know. It sets so many bars.
Yeah.
Like it sets so many standards.
Excellent adventure. But
really
there are
is.
still some of those B picture elements in it.
It really.
And a lot of them are escalated and stuff. But
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see Harrison Ford in the new Indiana Jones that's going to be coming
I
out.
know.
I know. We're all
Whatever.
insanely worried for that movie.
That's how Crystal Skull was. And I was actually excited for that movie when I first saw it.
Yeah, I don't even like to say the name of that movie. I don't think that it should be considered canon.
No, I don't think it should either.
So this new movie, I can only imagine that they're just picking it up where that one left off, which is kind of going to suck.
Yeah.
But it's also, the new Indiana Jones is written by the same fellow who did Crystal Skull, David Comp. And he's written a lot of good movies. Like he read the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and a couple other like good ones that you'd recognize. But God, that was just.
What was
I don't want to talk about it. Let's
Yeah.
talk about something else.
Yeah. What?
What's your favorite of
I was
these?
just
Is
gonna
this
say,
your favorite?
This is my favorite. I know a lot of people's favorites for Indiana Jones is The Last Crusade.
Yeah, which is interesting.
The Last Crusade
which
is a good
also
one.
is kind of a big deal because like usually sequels.
Yeah.
And a third one,
Yeah.
especially to be people's favorites, that's crazy.
The Last Crusade is my second favorite. It's very close. Like they're both amazing movies, but I think what it comes down to is this was the first for me, and just the impact this holds to me, and how classic this movie is, and just the story. I love it.
Yeah.
I really do. I really do. But what's your favorite?
Temple of Doom is my favorite.
Yes.
I'm not
think
saying
it's
it's the best one.
No.
Because I would give, I'm not going to rate these movies, try to put them in order.
Yeah.
But Temple of Doom is my
That's your
favorite.
favorite.
I love that
Yeah.
movie. It's so cool.
It's crazy too because that movie is like a lot of people's least favorite, and some people
Which makes no
some
sense
people,
to me,
Some
'cause
people
I love
really
that
dislike
movie.
that movie. Like they don't
I
even
know.
think it's good. And
Well,
I
this-
disagree.
which is lame.
I disagree because I actually really like that. I actually really like Temple of Doom. It's not my like favorite. It's my least favorite of the trilogy, but it's still like really good. I still enjoy it. It's still an enjoyable movie. Love that. I just think it's the weakest out of all of them, but it's just my
And I can see arguments
personal
for that, but it's my,
Yeah.
again, personal preference is my favorite.
The one issue I have with this movie
With Raiders.
with Raiders, yeah, and it's not a big issue. Honestly, this is like just a thing that I've noticed just watching it so many times is the fact that this movie. So like the way the movie ends with the way the movie ends with the Ark opening and all the Nazis dying.
Mm-hmm.
So the way it ends like that, you technically don't need to have you technically don't need to have Indiana Jones in the plot at all because they would have found the Ark anyways, and they would have died anyways.
Right, and they would have just opened it.
Yeah,
Word.
that's the one. That's the one. That's the one plot hole.
That's a great point, though,
Joe.
Joe.
That's the one plot hole. That's like, and that's not my idea. I've seen it online. It's like a thing online. Like that's a pretty noticeable.
Obviously, it's like more fun though, because
no
one wants to watch a bunch of Nazis dig in the sand.
Yeah, exactly. But
you can quote me on that one.
But yeah, I think it's I still think it's amazing. It's just that is the one flaw. If I had to point out a flaw, that is the flaw. But whatever. Like it's still a great movie.
Yeah, and it does what it has to do.
Yeah.
It entertains.
Do you have any like flaws with this movie? If you had to like
flaws?
Yeah, like anything you didn't particularly like.
Not anything that I didn't like dislike, but maybe there's some stuff that like doesn't necessarily have to be in there.
Yeah.
Like I'm not talking about Indiana Jones. I'm talking about like maybe some smaller characters.
Okay.
Maybe the thing with, when he goes and sees his friend Salah.
Yes,
and
I know exactly what scene you're talking about.
Just the monkey and the
Yes.
date. I like that scene. That's
scene,
a cool scene.
But I agree.
But you don't need it.
Yes, I agree. What would you rate this movie, Andrew?
9.5.
9.5?
Yeah.
I'd have to give it 9.5 as well. I think this movie was very well done. And
Absolutely.
It's just
fun. It's just fun for all ages.
Yes, and it's just a little bit less than perfect.
Yeah,
Just like,
exactly.
Just like A Quiet Place. So, yeah.
But it's better than Quiet Place.
Oh, it is. It is. This is a classic, man. This is the one
no doubt
that
about it.
So
maybe Quiet Place will be too someday. But
yeah, maybe. Just like Ready Player One might be someday. So there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, oh dang, I meant 9.5. Whatever.
Classic.
It's all good. Anyways, that is our show for today.
We appreciate you guys watching. We're gonna be back next week with some good movies, and we will see you next time at the movies.